Traveler, hurry, have a seat. I've heard something, if you have time to listen.
She had been hidden all her life, hidden from the world, hidden from the truth, hidden even from herself. But some things cannot stay buried forever. Not power, not blood, not destiny. And when fear finally tears its way free, the girl who was taught to survive may become something far more dangerous. Fear finally took her. Not the distant, crawling fear of a bad dream, but the kind that steals time itself. The kind that empties the world until only instinct remains. Kaighleigh drew breath and screamed. It tore free from her throat, raw and unrestrained, as though something inside her had split open. The sound shattered outward, ripping through the quiet morning. The troll recoiled instantly, its massive hands flying up to clamp over its ears. It staggered, howling in sudden agony. Kaighleigh folded inward on herself, arms wrapping tight around her body, fingers digging into her own skin, as if she could hold herself together through sheer force. Her legs shook, her teeth chattered. I should have learned to fight, she thought wildly. Father tried. I didn't listen. I didn't learn enough. Helplessness burned through her chest. Trust me, she told herself, clinging to Wolfgar's presence like a lifeline. Trust Wolfgar. He has a plan. If she screamed loudly enough, if she screamed hard enough, Dante and the men would wake. They would come. They had to. Harder, Kaighleigh. Wolfgar's voice cut into her mind, ragged with strain. Higher! She sucked in a desperate breath, lungs screaming in protest, and forced the sound upward, sharper, thinner, higher pitched. The scream changed, slicing instead of roaring. The troll reeled. Then something struck her. It came from nowhere and everywhere at once. Kaighleigh jolted violently as a searing sensation lashed through her body, starting at her toes and racing upward, exploding behind her eyes. Her spine arched. Her arms flew out to her sides, fingers splayed wide, no longer under her control. The river trembled. She could feel it. Not just hear it, but feel it. Water shuddering around her legs, stones rattling beneath the current. The wind pressed in close, sliding across her skin, curling into every hollow and seam of her body. Then, control. Not sudden, not clean, but hers. Her arms moved forward slowly, deliberately, as if guided by instinct older than thought. Her hands came together. Clap. The sound cracked like thunder. The force gathered around her in a rushing, tightening pressure, drawn inward for one terrible heartbeat. And then it unleashed. A wail burst from her, ghastly and wrong, nothing like a human scream. It tore across the river with violent force, slamming into the troll. The creature was flung backward, its shrieks crushed beneath the sound as it sailed across the water and struck the far bank with bone-crushing impact. The earth shook. When it landed, it did not rise. Kaighleigh turned slowly. The stones beneath her feet felt sharper now, more real, each edge pressing into her soles with startling clarity. The air felt colder, crisper, as dawn crept fully into the sky. She felt her eyes widen, pupils stretching as if trying to drink the world in. Something inside her had shifted, opened. Wolfgar collapsed to the ground not 10 running steps away. No, she breathed, terror ripping through her chest. No, you will not die. She surged forward, leaving the river fully, water sliding from her skin as she moved. The pebbles beneath her feet vibrated violently, some lifting briefly into the air before clattering back down again. She barely noticed. Wind rushed around her, tugging at her hair, whispering across her skin. Soft voices brushed her ears, too many to separate, overlapping and blending together into a half-remembered melody. It felt achingly familiar, like something from a life she could almost, but not quite, remember. She took it, all of it. The wind, the stones. The pulsing presence coiled deep within her. Another jolt tore through her body. This time she moved with it, hands and feet flowing together in an instinctive, alien rhythm. The power surged up from her core, swelling again. She screamed. The force exploded outward once more. The second troll fell where it stood, collapsing in on itself with a final, hollow sound. It did not move again. Silence followed. Kaighleigh stood on the riverbank, arms slowly falling to her sides. Her breath came fast and uneven as she stared at the still bodies scattered across the ground. The air around her crackled faintly, alive with something she did not understand. The sensation wrapped around her, humming through her bones. Confusion washed over her. She hadn't known what Wolfgar meant when he told her to scream. Now she feared she was beginning to understand. "Wolfgar!" She turned her head. He was pushing himself upright, shaking violently from nose to tail. Relief flooded her so hard it nearly knocked her to her knees. She ran to him without thinking, heedless of anything else, and dropped beside him. "Oh, my dear love, you are all right," she murmured, voice breaking as she pressed her hands into his warm fur, rubbing his shoulders and back, her forehead resting briefly against his neck. He stiffened, then pulled away. "Quick," he said sharply. Before she could protest, he bounded off. She watched, dazed, as he darted to the water's edge, seized her rucksack and clothes in his teeth, and returned just as swiftly. His gaze stayed carefully averted, fixed anywhere but on her. "Ride me." She hesitated. She hadn't done so since she was a child. "They come, Kaighleigh." That decided it. She wound her hands into his fur as he braced himself. Carefully, she lifted her leg over his back, settling against him. His fur was solid and warm beneath her, familiar in a way that made her chest ache. She clung to him, leaning forward over his neck as he surged into motion. They were off. He ran with effortless strength, bounding, leaping, swerving through the trees without once jolting her or landing too hard. It was nothing like riding a horse. His movements were smooth, fluid, alive. Kaighleigh pressed close, heart pounding, not with fear this time, but with something brighter, something awakened. Through the forest he carried her, under fallen logs slick with damp moss, over jutting stones smoothed by centuries of rain and root. Wolfgar bounded with effortless power, his body a living rhythm beneath her. Kaighleigh felt the wind tear through her hair, strands whipping across her bare back and shoulders, cool and sharp and alive. Light filtered through the trees now, no longer the muted grey of night, but a growing brilliance, thin spears of gold slipping between branches, catching on leaves, shattering and reforming as they struck her skin in fleeting flashes. Her body moved with his, instinctively, trusting completely. Each leap lifted her heart, each landing steadied it. The forest rushed past in a blur of green and brown and light, the scent of pine sap and damp earth filling her lungs until she felt almost dizzy with it. And then, far too soon, he slowed. Wolfgar came to a halt in a quiet hollow where moss lay thick and undisturbed, a place hidden and old. He lowered the sack carefully to the ground, reverent in the way one might set down something fragile. Kaighleigh slid from his back, her feet meeting the earth, cool and solid beneath her soles, grounding her after the rush. He gave a low grunt, neither impatience nor reproach, and turned away from her, settling heavily onto his haunches. His back was straight, unmoving, his gaze fixed into the forest beyond. He would not look. Without a word passing between them, she dressed. The gown came first. Deep blue, so dark it nearly drank the morning light, yet when she moved it shimmered softly, like water beneath a moonless sky. The fabric slid over her skin with a whisper, cool and smooth, settling against her form. A slit ran up to her calf, practical and deliberate, made for riding and movement. Next came the doublet, buttermilk in colour, pale and simple. She slipped it on slowly, feeling the weight of it settle against her chest and shoulders. It fit perfectly, too perfectly, and the thought struck her unbidden. Would this truly stop an arrow? Some garments carried more than thread and cloth. Magic wove itself quietly into the world, hiding in plain sight. Perhaps this was one of those things. She hoped it was. From the sack she drew a silver chain. Her breath caught. Her birth mother's. She let it pool in her palm, thumb brushing over the golden amulet, its surface worn smooth by time and touch. It would not blend with her gown, not truly, but she lifted it anyway, reverent, and slipped it over her head. She tucked it beneath the fabric, close to her heart, where it warmed quickly against her skin. Only then did she breathe again. Her fingers fumbled briefly through the sack before finding the comb. She drew it through her hair, long, steady strokes, grounding herself in the simple act. She took care then, more than usual, braiding her waist-length hair carefully around her ears, letting the rest fall loose down her back. When she was done, her elven heritage lay hidden once more, veiled by dark silk and intention. The slippers came last, fine, silken blue, light as breath. As she slid her feet into them, gratitude welled in her chest so suddenly it surprised her. Her mother had always wanted her to look her best, always prepared, always protected. Next time. At dawn, Kaighleigh will finally learn the truth. Not just of what she can do, but of what she is. Wolfgar begins to speak of her mother, of the gate, of Tirminag, of the Seiren. And with every answer comes something worse. The knowledge that those hunting her have never stopped. Because Kaighleigh was never meant to live unseen forever.
Wasn't that interesting? Now don't forget to subscribe for more.
And ring the bell for your server.